Sarah Martinez stood outside the chain-link gate of Fort Bragg's Special Operations Training Compound, her duffel bag at her feet, and her orders folded in her hand. The North Carolina sun beat down on her shoulders. She had driven 14 hours straight to get here. She had not slept. She had barely eaten. But none of that mattered now. This was the moment she had worked toward for 6 years. The guard at the gate looked at her papers, then looked at her face. His expression changed. He smirked. "You sure you got the right place, sweetheart?" he asked. Sarah kept her voice steady. "Special Forces selection." "Reporting as ordered," the guard laughed. Not a polite chuckle, a real laugh. He turned to his partner in the booth. "Hey, Marcus, we got another one." The second guard leaned out. He saw Sarah and shook his head. "They don't learn, do they?" Sarah felt the heat rise in her chest, but she did not move. She did not blink. She had heard this before. She would hear it again. She simply stood there and waited. Finally, the gate rolled open. "Good luck," the first guard said, still grinning. "You're gonna need it." Sarah picked up her bag and walked through. The compound was exactly as she had imagined. Rows of concrete buildings. Obstacle courses stretched across red clay fields. Towers for rappelling. Pools for water survival. And everywhere men. Hundreds of them. All shapes, all sizes, all branches of the military. Rangers, Marines, SEALs, Green Berets trying to level up. Not a single woman in sight. Sarah had been an Army Ranger for 4 years. She had served 2 tours overseas. She had earned her tab the hard way, through mud and blood and countless nights when her body screamed at her to quit. She had proven herself again and again, but she knew that did not matter here. Here she would have to prove herself all over again. She reported to the admin building. A staff sergeant sat behind a desk, barely looking up as she handed over her orders. He stamped a form, gave her a room number, told her orientation started at 0500 tomorrow. That's 5 a.m. In case you didn't know, he added with a smirk. "I know what 0500 means, Sergeant," Sarah said quietly. He looked up then, really looked at her. His eyes were cold. "We'll see how long you last." Sarah turned and walked out. Her room was in a barracks at the far end of the compound. The hall smelled like sweat and cleaning solution. She found her bunk. It was the only one in a bay that had 20 others, all empty. They had isolated her on purpose. She knew that too. She unpacked in silence. Boots lined up. Uniforms hung. Photo of her father placed on the small shelf above her bed. He wore his dress uniform in the picture. Army, retired Master Sergeant. He had served 30 years. He had told her once when she was 12 that she had the heart of a soldier. "Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, mija," he had said. "You know who you are." That's enough. He had died 3 years ago. Heart attack sudden. Sarah had been deployed when it happened. She did not make it home in time to say goodbye. She touched the photo gently, then lay back on her bunk. Tomorrow the real test would begin. Morning came fast. Sarah woke at 4:30. She dressed, tied her boots, and made her way to the briefing hall. It was already crowded. Men everywhere, talking, laughing, sizing each other up. When she walked in, the room did not go silent. That only happened in movies. But she felt the shift. Eyes turned. Conversations paused for half a second. Then the whisper started. "Is that? No way. She's not seriously." Sarah found a seat near the back. She sat down and stared straight ahead. A moment later, someone sat beside her. She glanced over. A tall man, mid-30s, built like a truck. He had a ranger tab on his shoulder and a cocky grin on his face. "Name's Briggs," he said, sticking out his hand. Sarah shook it briefly. "Martinez." "Let me give you some advice, Martinez," Briggs said, leaning back in his chair. "This isn't Ranger School. This isn't some equal opportunity publicity stunt. This is Special Forces selection. The washout rate is 70%. 70. And that's for guys who've been training their whole lives." Sarah said nothing. Briggs continued. "No offense, but I've seen women try this before. They don't make it past day 3. The ruck marches alone will destroy you. You're what, 130 pounds? You'll be carrying a 70-pound pack over mountain terrain. Your body's not built for it." Sarah turned to look at him. Her voice was calm, quiet. "You done?" Briggs blinked. "Because if you are," Sarah said, "I'd like to focus on the briefing." For a second, Briggs just stared at her. Then he laughed and shook his head. All right, let's see what you got." At exactly 0500, the doors at the front of the hall slammed open. A man walked in. He was not tall. He was not huge. But the room snapped to attention instantly. Colonel Kane, he was a legend. A ghost, 25 years in special forces. Missions no one talked about. Decorations no one could see. He had trained some of the deadliest operators in the world, and he did not smile. "Sit down," Kane said. Everyone sat. "Look around you," Kane continued. 214 candidates. In 6 weeks, maybe 20 of you will graduate. Maybe less. Some of you will quit in the first 72 hours. Some of you will get injured. Some of you will simply fail. He paused. This course does not care about your rank. It does not care about your feelings. It does not care if you think you deserve to be here. It only cares about one thing. Can you survive what we throw at you? His eyes scanned the room. Then they landed on Sarah. He stared at her for 3 long seconds. "Some of you," Kane said slowly, "are going to waste everyone's time." The room stayed silent. Sarah felt every eye on her, but she did not look down. She stared right back at Kane. He turned away. "First event starts in 30 minutes, Kane said. "Draw your gear. Formation outside. If you're late, you're gone." He walked out. The room erupted in noise. Men stood talking, psyching themselves up. Briggs leaned over. "Last chance to walk away, Martinez." Sarah stood. She looked down at him. "See you at the finish line," she said, and she walked out. The gear issue station was chaos. Men lined up, grabbing rucksacks, canteens, load-bearing vests, everything they would need for the first evolution. Sarah moved through the line efficiently. She knew her sizes. She knew how to pack. She had done this 100 times before. But the quartermaster, a grizzled sergeant with a gray mustache, looked at her like she was lost. "You sure you're in the right line?" he asked. "I'm sure," Sarah replied. He shrugged and handed her the gear. "Your funeral." Outside, the sun was climbing. The temperature was already pushing 80 degrees. It would hit 95 by noon. The humidity made the air feel thick, like breathing through a wet towel. 214 candidates stood in formation on the gravel lot. Sarah found her place in the back row. Around her, men adjusted their packs, stretched their legs, rolled their shoulders. The nervous energy was almost visible. Colonel Kane appeared again, this time with 3 other instructors. They were all older, all lean, all watching with the eyes of predators. "Gentlemen," Kane began. Then he paused. His eyes flicked to Sarah and others. "Welcome to day 1. Today we find out who belongs here and who doesn't. The first test is simple. 12-mile ruck march, full pack, 70 pounds minimum, 3 hours or less. If you fall out, you're done. If you quit, you're done. If you finish outside the time limit, you're done." Any questions? No one spoke. "Good," Kane said. "Move out, the formation broke." Candidates hefted their packs and started moving toward the trail that led into the woods beyond the compound. Sarah swung her pack onto her shoulders. 70 pounds settled onto her frame. Her knees buckled slightly, then locked. She adjusted the straps, tightened the waist belt, and started walking. The pace was fast from the start. The lead group set a brutal rhythm. Sarah fell into the middle of the pack, keeping her breathing steady, her steps even. The trail was dirt and roots, winding uphill through thick pine forest. Within the first mile, men started to spread out. The strongest pushed to the front. The average settled in the middle. The struggling began to fall back. Sarah stayed consistent, 1 foot in front of the other. She did not try to race. She did not try to prove anything in the first mile. She knew better. This was not a sprint. This was survival. By mile 3, the first candidate dropped out. He stepped off the trail, hands on his knees, gasping. An instructor appeared out of nowhere, wrote something on a clipboard, and pointed back toward the compound. "Walk back or ride back, your choice," the instructor said. "But you're done." The man nodded, defeated. Sarah passed him without looking. Mile 4. Mile 5. The pack dug into her shoulders. Her lower back started to ache. Sweat soaked through her shirt. But she kept moving. Somewhere ahead she could hear Briggs. He was talking, laughing even, like this was easy. Showing off. "Come on, boys, my grandmother moves faster than this," he shouted. A few others laughed with him. Sarah said nothing. She just kept walking. By mile 6, the real pain started. The uphills were steep. The downhills were treacherous. Roots reached out like fingers trying to trip anyone who wasn't paying attention. Sarah's thighs burned. Her shoulders screamed, but she had been here before. Pain was familiar. Pain was manageable. What bothered her more were the voices. Behind her, 2 men were talking. They were not quiet. "How much longer you think she lasts?" one of them said. "Maybe another mile. 2 if she's stubborn. $20 says she's out before mile 8. You're on." Sarah's jaw tightened. She did not turn around. She did not respond. She just adjusted her pack and kept moving. Mile 7. The trail opened up briefly, running along a ridgeline. Sarah could see the line of candidates stretched out below her. Dozens of them. Some strong. Some struggling. Some already gone. And then she saw the instructors. They were everywhere. Hidden in the trees. Standing at intersections, watching, waiting, looking for weakness. One of them, a lean man with a shaved head, stepped onto the trail beside Sarah. He matched her pace, walking alongside her without saying a word. Just watching. Sarah kept her eyes forward. "You know," the instructor finally said, "there's no shame in dropping out. Most people don't make it. You gave it a shot. That's more than most would do." Sarah said nothing. "This is only going to get harder," he continued. "Day 2 is worse. Day 3 breaks almost everyone. You really want to put yourself through that?" Sarah's breathing was steady. "In through the nose, out through the mouth. I've seen a lot of candidates come through here," the instructor said. "I can always tell who's going to make it and who's not." "And you—" "I'm going to finish," Sarah said quietly. The instructor smiled. "We'll see." He dropped back and disappeared into the trees. Mile 8. Mile 9. The 2 men behind Sarah had gone quiet. She glanced back once and saw that one of them was gone, dropped out. The other was barely holding on, his face red, his steps uneven. Sarah faced forward and kept moving. Mile 10. Her body was beyond pain now. It had moved into that strange place where everything hurt so much that it almost didn't hurt anymore. Her mind had separated from her body. She was just motion, just breath, just will. The trail turned downhill, steep, rocky. Men in front of her started to jog, trying to make up time. Sarah did not jog. She kept her pace steady. Jogging downhill with 70 pounds on your back was a good way to blow out a knee. She had seen it happen before. She walked fast, but controlled. Mile 11. The finish line was close now. She could feel it. The trail leveled out, turning back toward the compound. Through the trees, she could see the buildings in the distance. Around her, men started to push. They picked up speed, racing each other to the end. Egos flaring, testosterone pumping. Sarah did not race them. She just kept her pace. And then ahead of her, she saw Briggs. He was walking slower now, not talking anymore. His face was tight with pain. He was favoring his left leg. Sarah caught up to him, past him. For just a second, their eyes met. Briggs said nothing, but his expression said everything. Surprise, frustration, anger. Sarah kept walking. The finish line appeared. A simple banner stretched between 2 poles. Instructors with clipboards. A water station. Candidates sitting on the ground, packs off, gasping for air. Sarah crossed the line. An instructor checked his watch. 2 hours, 47 minutes. Name, Martinez, he wrote it down. Good time. Water's over there. Formation in 20 minutes, Sarah nodded. She dropped her pack and allowed herself one long breath. She had finished in the top third. Around her, men continued to cross the line. Some celebrated, some collapsed. Some looked at her with confusion, like they could not understand how she was there. Briggs came in 4 minutes later. He dropped his pack and limped over to the water station. He did not look at Sarah, but Colonel Kane did. He stood off to the side, arms crossed, watching as the candidates recovered. His eyes found Sarah. He studied her for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away. 20 minutes later, the formation was called. Only 183 candidates stood in line. 31 had already dropped out or failed to finish in time. Day 1 was not even over yet. Kane stepped forward. Congratulations. You completed the ruck march, but that was just the warm-up. In 1 hour, you will report to the obstacle course. After that, land navigation. After that, a written exam. You will not sleep tonight. Some of you will not make it to tomorrow. Dismissed. The formation broke. Sarah grabbed her pack and started toward the barracks. Her shoulders ached. Her feet throbbed, but she was still standing. As she walked, she heard a voice behind her. Martinez. She turned. It was Briggs. He stood there, sweat-soaked, limping slightly. His cocky grin was gone. That was impressive, he said quietly. Sarah nodded once. Thanks, she turned to go. But don't think that means anything, Briggs added. One ruck march doesn't make you special forces. You've got a long way to go. Sarah stopped. She looked back at him. So do you, she said, and she walked away. The next 72 hours were designed to break people. That was the point. That was the purpose. Special Forces selection was not about physical strength alone. It was about finding out what happened when your body gave up and only your mind was left. It was about discovering who you were when everything hurt, and quitting was the easiest choice in the world. Sarah learned this on day 2. The obstacle course came first. Rope climbs, wall scaling, barbed wire crawls, monkey bars that seemed to stretch forever. Every candidate went through it twice, timed, graded, watched. Sarah finished both runs in the middle of the pack. Not the fastest, not the slowest, solid, consistent. But that was not what people noticed. What they noticed was that she finished. By the end of day 2, another 24 candidates were gone. The number was down to 159. Day 3 brought land navigation. Candidates were dropped in the woods with nothing but a map, a compass, and a list of coordinates. Find all 6 points. Make it back before dark. Miss even 1 point and you fail. Sarah found all 6. She returned to the rally point with 40 minutes to spare. 17 more candidates were cut that day. By day 4, the whispers around the compound had changed. At first they had been dismissive, mocking, but now they were different. She's still here. How is she still here? I heard she beat half the Rangers on the obstacle course. Kane's probably going to cut her anyway. Just waiting for an excuse. Sarah heard the whispers, but she did not respond to them. She kept her head down. She did her work. She stayed in her lane, but on the morning of day 5, everything changed. The candidates were called to formation before dawn. Colonel Kane stood at the front, his face unreadable as always. Today, Kane announced, we test your teamwork. You will be divided into squads of 8. Each squad will complete a series of tasks, combat drills, medic scenarios, problem solving under pressure. Your squad succeeds together or fails together. Squad assignments are posted on the board. You have 5 minutes, move. The candidates rushed to the board. Sarah pushed through the crowd and found her name. Squad 7. She scanned the list of names below hers. Her stomach sank. Briggs and 5 others she recognized. All of them had been vocal. All of them had made comments. All of them had made it clear they did not think she belonged here. This was not a coincidence. Sarah turned and found her squad gathering near the edge of the lot. Briggs stood at the center, arms crossed. When he saw her coming, he did not hide his irritation. Great, he muttered. Just what we need. The others looked at her with varying degrees of annoyance and doubt. One of them, a stocky Marine named Kozlowski, shook his head. No offense, Martinez, but if you slow us down, we all pay for it. You understand that, right? I won't slow you down, Sarah said evenly. We'll see, Kozlowski replied. The first task was a combat drill. The squad had to move through a mock village, clearing rooms, identifying threats, communicating under pressure. It required speed, coordination, and trust. Sarah took her position in the stack. Briggs was the point man. Kozlowski was behind him. Sarah was third. They moved through the course efficiently. Briggs called out targets. Kozlowski covered angles. Sarah followed protocol exactly. They cleared the village in under 8 minutes. The instructor gave them a passing score, but Briggs was not satisfied. We could have done better, he said, glaring at Sarah. You hesitated on the second room. I didn't hesitate, Sarah said. I checked the corner like I was supposed to. You slowed us down. Our time was solid. Briggs stepped closer. Listen, Martinez. I don't know what you're trying to prove here, but this isn't about you. This is about the squad. And if you become a liability, I'm not a liability, Sarah said, her voice calm but firm. Briggs stared at her. For a moment it looked like he might say something else, but then Kozlowski stepped between them. Let it go, Briggs, we passed. That's what matters. Briggs backed off, but the tension remained. The second task was worse. It was a medic scenario, a simulated casualty with multiple injuries. The squad had to assess, treat, and evacuate under time pressure. Sarah had combat medic training. She knew what to do. When the scenario started, she moved immediately to the casualty, checking vitals, identifying wounds, calling out instructions. But Briggs overrode her. "Kozlowski, you're on triage," Briggs ordered. Martinez stepped back. Sarah looked up. "I've got this," I said. "Step back. I'm trained for this. I know what I'm doing." Briggs's face hardened. "And I'm the team leader. So step back." Sarah hesitated for only a second. Then she stepped aside. Kozlowski took over. But he was not a medic. He fumbled with the tourniquet. He missed a wound. By the time they got the casualty stabilized and evacuated, they were 30 seconds over the time limit. The instructor marked them down. "Failure," he said flatly. "Next scenario." The squad walked away in silence. Sarah could feel their frustration, and she knew they would blame her. Sure enough, Briggs turned on her the moment they were out of earshot. "That was your fault," he said. Sarah stopped walking. "My fault? You wouldn't let me treat him. You were taking too long. I was following protocol. If you had let me finish—" "This is exactly the problem," Briggs interrupted, his voice rising. "You think you know better than everyone else. You think you've got something to prove, but all you're doing is dragging us down." The rest of the squad stood silent, watching. Sarah kept her voice level. "I did my job. You made the call. We failed because of your call." Briggs's jaw clenched. "You don't belong here, Martinez. Everyone knows it. You're only still here because they're afraid of the optics. But eventually you're going to wash out, and when you do, no one's going to be surprised." The words hit harder than Sarah expected, not because they were true, but because part of her had heard them before. From others, from the world, sometimes late at night from a small voice inside her own head. But she did not let it show. "We've got 3 more scenarios," Sarah said quietly. "Are you done, or do you want to actually work together?" Briggs stared at her. Then he turned and walked away. The rest of the day was brutal. The squad barely spoke to each other. They completed the remaining tasks, but the chemistry was gone. Trust was gone. They finished near the bottom of the rankings. When the scores were posted that evening, Squad 7 was flagged for underperformance. Colonel Kane called them in personally. They stood at attention in his office. Kane sat behind his desk, reviewing their evaluations. The silence was excruciating. Finally, Kane looked up. "This," he said, tapping the paper, "is unacceptable. You are all experienced operators. You should be able to function as a team under pressure, but instead you perform like a group of individuals. Selfish, undisciplined, dysfunctional." No one spoke. Kane's eyes moved across each of them, then settled on Sarah. "Candidate Martinez," he said. "Yes, sir. You have combat medic training. Is that correct?" "Yes, sir." "And during the triage scenario, you were prevented from performing your role." Sarah hesitated. If she told the truth, she would be throwing Briggs under the bus. But if she lied, she would be taking blame that was not hers. She chose the truth. "Yes, sir." Kane looked at Briggs. "Candidate Briggs, explain." Briggs's face was stone. "I made a tactical decision, sir. I chose the operator I thought was best suited for the task, and your squad failed because of it." "Yes, sir." Kane leaned back in his chair. "Let me be clear. I don't care about your egos. I don't care about your personal opinions. I care about results. If you cannot put aside your biases and work as a team, you do not belong in Special Forces. Do I make myself clear?" "Yes, sir," they answered in unison. "You're dismissed." "Except you, Candidate Martinez. Stay." The others filed out. Briggs shot Sarah a look as he left. It was not friendly. When the door closed, Kane stood and walked around his desk. He leaned against it, arms crossed, studying Sarah. "How are you holding up?" he asked. The question surprised her. It was the first time anyone in command had asked her anything personal. "I'm fine, sir," Sarah said. "Are you?" Sarah met his eyes. "Yes, sir," Kane nodded slowly. "You've done well so far. Better than I expected, if I'm being honest. But you need to understand something. It doesn't matter how strong you are. It doesn't matter how fast you run or how much you can carry. If your team doesn't trust you, you will fail. And right now your team doesn't trust you. With respect, sir, I've done everything asked of me. I've followed every order. I know," Kane interrupted. "And that's not the problem. The problem is that some of these men will never trust you. Not because of anything you do or don't do, but because of what you represent. A change they're not ready for." Sarah said nothing. Kane sighed. I'm going to be straight with you, Martinez. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've seen thousands of candidates come through here. And in all that time, I've never seen a woman make it through selection. Not because they weren't capable, but because the system is designed to break anyone who doesn't fit the mold. Then why let me try? Sarah asked quietly. Kane looked at her for a long moment. Because maybe it's time the mold changed, he said. But that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be harder for you than anyone else here. So the question is, are you ready for that? Sarah's voice was steady. Yes, sir, Kane nodded. Good, because tomorrow is the endurance test. 20 miles, full gear. And it's not just about finishing. It's about finishing first. The top 10 finishers move on to the next phase. Everyone else goes home. No exceptions, Sarah's heart pounded. Understood, sir. Dismissed. Sarah turned to leave. Martinez, Kane called after her. She stopped. Show them who you are, he said. Sarah nodded and walked out. Sarah did not sleep that night. She lay on her bunk, staring at the ceiling, running through everything in her mind. 20 miles, full gear. Top 10 finishers advance. Everyone else goes home. She thought about her father, about the photo on her shelf, about the promise she had made at his funeral, that she would not quit, that she would not let anyone tell her she was not good enough. At 04:30, she rose, dressed, checked her gear one final time. Her pack was exactly 70 pounds. Water, rations, equipment, everything balanced and secure. She walked to the staging area in the dark. The compound was already awake. Candidates moved like shadows, their faces tight with nerves. This was the moment that would define everything. Make it into the top 10 and you continued. Fall short and you went home. Simple, brutal, final. Sarah joined the formation. 142 candidates remained. In a few hours, that number would be cut to 10. Colonel Kane stood at the front, a flashlight in his hand illuminating his face from below. This is the endurance test, Kane said. 20 miles. Mixed terrain, hills, trails, roads, full pack. You will follow the marked course. There are no shortcuts. There are no second chances. The top 10 finishers advance to phase 2. Everyone else is eliminated. The course opens in 5 minutes. Any questions? Silence, then get ready, Kane said. And may God have mercy on you. The candidates moved to the start line. Sarah positioned herself in the middle of the pack. Around her, men stretched, adjusted their gear, psyched themselves up. Briggs was up front, confident, ready. He glanced back, found Sarah, and shook his head. She ignored him. An instructor raised a flare gun. On my mark, he shouted. Sarah's heart pounded. Her hands trembled slightly. She forced them still. The flare shot into the sky. A streak of red against the black. Go! The mass of candidates surged forward like a wave. Bodies collided. Packs bounced. Boots hammered the dirt. The sound was deafening. Sarah did not get caught up in the chaos. She stayed calm, found her rhythm, settled into a pace she knew she could maintain. The course started on a dirt road. Flat, fast. The leaders pulled ahead immediately, running hard, trying to establish dominance early. Sarah let them go. She knew what happened to people who started too fast. She had seen it 100 times. Mile 1, mile 2. The pack began to spread out. The rabbits were far ahead now. The middle group was thinning. The stragglers were already falling back. Sarah stayed in the middle. Breathing steady. Pace controlled, mile 3. The road turned into a trail. The terrain shifted. Uphill, steep. The real test was beginning. Around her, men started to slow. The pack on their backs felt heavier with every step. The incline burned their legs. Their breathing became ragged. Sarah adjusted her posture, leaned slightly forward, shortened her stride. She had trained for this. She knew how to manage the hills. She started to pass people. 1, then 2, then 5. Looking strong, Martinez, someone muttered as she went by. She did not respond. She just kept moving. Mile 4. Mile 5, the trail climbed higher. The trees thickened. The air grew cooler, but sweat still poured down her face. Ahead, she could see the leaders. Maybe 30 of them. Briggs was among them. He was running with Kozlowski and 2 others. They moved together like a pack. Sarah focused on them. Closed the distance. Step by step, mile 6. She caught the back of the lead group. Kozlowski glanced over his shoulder and saw her. His eyes widened. "Briggs," he said. "Martinez is right behind us." Briggs looked back. His expression hardened. "Then let's pick up the pace," he said. The lead group accelerated. Sarah matched them. Mile 7. Mile 8. The trail leveled out briefly, running along a ridgeline. Sarah could see the entire course stretched out below.
Candidates scattered across miles of terrain.
Some strong, some struggling, some stopped completely, but she was in the lead pack now. Top 30, maybe top 20. She needed top 10, mile 9. The trail turned downhill. Sharp, rocky, dangerous. The leaders attacked it. Running hard. Taking risks. Sarah ran controlled. Fast but smart. She did not need to win. She just needed to finish in the top 10. But then something shifted inside her. A voice. Quiet at first, then louder. Why just top 10? Why not first? Sarah's breathing changed. Deeper, stronger. She accelerated. Mile 10. She passed 3 more candidates. Then 2 more. She was top 15 now, maybe top 12. The trail opened onto a gravel road. Long, straight, exposed to the sun. The heat was rising. It had to be 90 degrees already. Men around her started to crack. Their pace slowed. Their steps became uneven. But Sarah felt something strange. She felt strong. Stronger than she had at the start. Her body had moved past pain, past exhaustion, into that place where the mind takes over completely. Where quitting is not even a possibility, where the only thing that exists is forward. She picked up her pace again. Mile 11, mile 12, she passed Kozlowski. He was walking now, limping, his face twisted in pain. "Go," he gasped as she passed. "Go, Martinez." She kept running. Mile 13. Ahead, she could see the top 10. Briggs was among them. He was in 5th place, running hard, refusing to break. Sarah set her sights on him. Mile 14. Mile 15, she was 11th, then 10th, then 9th. One of the men ahead of her glanced back, saw her coming. His eyes went wide. "Who the hell is that?" he shouted. "It's Martinez." Someone answered. Sarah passed him. 8th place. Mile 16. The course turned back into the woods. The shade was a relief, but the trail was brutal. Roots, rocks, steep climbs. It required total focus. Sarah did not slow down. She passed another candidate. 7th place, then another. 6th. Mile 17. Briggs was just ahead now. He heard her footsteps. Turned his head when he saw her. His face showed pure disbelief. "No way," he muttered. Sarah pulled alongside him. For 10 seconds, they ran side by side, neither speaking. Just breathing. Just fighting. Then Sarah pushed harder, and she passed him. "Martinez," Briggs called out, but she was already ahead. 5th place, mile 18. 4 men were in front of her now. All of them Special Forces candidates. All of them elite operators. All of them running the race of their lives. Sarah hunted them down. She passed the 4th place, runner at mile 18 and a half. The 3rd place, runner at mile 19. The 2nd place runner with half a mile to go. That left one 1st place, a ranger named Dalton, tall, lean, built for endurance. He had led the entire race. Sarah could see the finish line now. A quarter mile away. The compound. The banner. The instructors waiting. Dalton was 50 meters ahead. Sarah had nothing left. Her legs were numb. Her lungs were on fire. Her pack felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds, but she did not slow down. She leaned forward, pumped her arms, drove her legs into the ground. 40 meters, 30. Dalton heard her. He glanced back, saw her closing. Panic flashed across his face. He tried to accelerate, but he had nothing left. 20 meters. 10. Sarah pulled alongside him. Dalton's breathing was ragged, desperate. He tried to match her, but he could not. Sarah passed him. The finish line was 100 feet away. Instructors stood on either side. Candidates who had finished earlier watched in stunned silence. Colonel Kane stood at the center, stopwatch in hand. Sarah crossed the line. First, she stumbled, fell to one knee. Her pack hit the ground. Her vision blurred, but she heard the time. 2 hours, 53 minutes. Kane's voice called out. "New course record." Sarah gasped for air. Her whole body shook. Dalton crossed the line 10 seconds later. He collapsed completely, then the others. 3rd place, 4th, 5th, and then Briggs. He crossed in 7th place. Walked straight to the water station. Did not look at anyone. Sarah forced herself to stand. Her legs barely held her. Kane walked over. He stood in front of her, studied her face. Then he extended his hand. Sarah shook it. "You earned this," Kane said quietly. "Every step." Tears stung Sarah's eyes, but she did not let them fall. "Thank you, sir," she whispered. Over the next 15 minutes, the rest of the top 10 crossed the line. When the 10th candidate finished, Kane called time. "That's it," he announced. "The rest are eliminated." Sarah watched as candidate after candidate came in outside the cutoff. Some collapsed in despair. Some walked away in silence. Some argued with the instructors, begging for another chance. But the rule was absolute. Top 10. No exceptions. When Kozlowski finally limped across the line, he was 15th. Eliminated. He saw Sarah, walked over, extended his hand. "That was incredible," he said. "Respect," Sarah shook his hand. "Thank you." Briggs finished 7th. He qualified. But when he saw Sarah standing there, first place, his expression was complicated: anger, frustration, but also something else. Respect. Reluctant, hard-won, but real. He walked over. "I was wrong," Briggs said quietly. "About you? You belong here." Sarah nodded. "We both do." Briggs almost smiled. Then he walked away. That evening, the 10 remaining candidates stood in formation one final time. Colonel Kane addressed them. "You 10 represent the best of the best. You have earned the right to continue. Phase 2 begins tomorrow. It will be harder than anything you have experienced. But I believe you are ready." He paused. "Today, candidate Martinez set a course record. She outran every single one of you. Let that sink in, not because of publicity, not because of politics, but because she was the strongest, the fastest, and the most determined person on that course." Kane looked directly at Sarah. "That is what Special Forces is about. Not who you are, but what you can do when it matters most." The formation stood silent. "Dismissed," Kane said. As the candidates dispersed, Sarah walked back toward the barracks. The sun was setting. The compound was quiet. She pulled out her phone, took a photo of her boots, muddy, worn, victorious. She looked at the picture of her father on her bunk. "I did it, Dad," she whispered. "I'm still standing." And for the first time in weeks, Sarah Martinez smiled.